Hi chess fans, welcome to Tactics Explained. In this video we will look at 10 positions and you will have the chance to find the best move. And then I will show you the best move and also run you through the thinking process that you could employ to find the best move. Okay, in this position here, have a look, white to move, find the best move for white. Okay, so clearly one motive is that white can attack the knight with the rook and take it, and another motive is that this pawn is close to promoting. So the first candidate move that comes to mind is rook takes e6, but then the problem is black has rook d3, stopping the pawn, and for example after king c2, rook takes a6, rook g7, and black has the resource of pushing this pawn, and probably white has to give up his bishop for the pawn, and the position is equal. So what to do against this resource um, of rook d3? White could try giving a check, but the problem is the king just escapes and approaches the pawn. Maybe white could try preventing rook d3 with bishop c2, but then black can play rook e3, interrupting the attack of the rook on the knight, and hence the knight is protecting the pawning square. Okay, so maybe rook e6 is worth exploring after all. Is there something else that we can do against rook d3? And here white has the resource rook e4 check, with the idea that if king takes, white has the possibility to pin the rook against the king and then advance the pawn in the next move. And if the king does not take, king to f5, we can still play rook, bishop to c2, and if now the rook takes the pawn, we can move the rook away and have a discovered attack. Maybe rook d4, but then black has the resource king e6, and white has a bishop up, but also has black has the passed pawn. Maybe a bit stronger is even rook e7 check, blocking the way for the king, and after rook d3, white has the rook rather than the bishop, and white wins. Okay, let's have a look at the next position. In this position here again, white to move. Find the best move for white. Okay, black has an attack here on the g2 pawn, and white also has some checks on the king. And whatever white does, probably white wants to do it with check, so that black is not in time to give a check himself. Okay, so rook e8 comes to mind as a check. If bishop takes, queen takes check, king g7. And now we have two options to giving check. One option is with the queen, and another option is with the bishop. Maybe we want to bring in the bishop to the attack. Bishop f8, and after king f6, queen e7, king f5. What is our check here? If queen d7 check, the king approaches the white pawn, and after queen g4, black takes the pawn and wins. And if in this position not queen d7 check, but queen takes f7 check, black can approach the pawn immediately. And if queen e6 check. Black has queen e5, attacking the king and the queen, and black is winning as well. So it looks like bishop f8 check might not be the right move here. What about queen f8 check? After king f6, we could now bring in the bishop again, bishop e7. But again, the king is able to approach the pawn. But what about queen g7 check? If king takes now, we could attack the queen, but the queen is protected by the rook. So maybe there's some idea that we can deduct from this variation of having a pin and win the queen. And in this position here, after king f6, we can see the winning idea. Bishop d4 check, attacking the king and the queen. And if black doesn't want to lose the queen right away, the queen has to take. And now we have the attack on the king and the queen. If the king moves away, we win the queen and the game. Okay, let's have a look at position number 3. In this position again, white to move. Pause your video and find the best move for white. Okay, white's resource is this advanced pawn that is close to queening, and also the position of the king that is a bit bad and blocked out by the bishop. And how can we make it possible to pawn this, to queen this pawn? One idea that comes to mind is taking with the rook, and if the rook takes, at least this square is empty. But we cannot advance the pawn without losing it. So maybe we can play bishop e6, but then black can play g6 and the king just comes close, and black will be able to stop the pawn. Okay, so if not rook takes f8, what about rook takes d8? Does this help us with anything? After rook takes, bishop c6 maybe. Again, the black king will come close and stop the pawn because the white king is too far away. So what other resources do we have if neither rook takes f8 or d8 works? Okay, one resource is that these two rooks are actually disconnected. And somehow there is both of these pieces on the white squares. So maybe one candidate move would be bishop to f7. And this is actually the winning move. If rook d takes e8, white has the resource of taking with the bishop, blocking the rook out, and the pawn will queen. And if black takes with the other rook, rook f takes, then obviously we can immediately queen, and white is material up. The bishop will win the game. Okay, let's have a look at the next position. In this position, black to move. Pause your video and find the best move for black. Okay, black could try knight d takes b3 here. And after king b1, knight takes d4, knight takes, bishop takes, king takes, knight takes a4, black is material up and winning. But maybe there's even a better move in this position here. Black also has another check. Knight c takes b3, and after c takes b3, black has the beautiful motive knight b3 checkmate. Note that even though there are some moves which could block the way of the bishop, because the knight also gives a check, it's a double check, and this move does not stop the mate. And we have the beautiful motif here of mating with a double check, 2 bishops, and the knight. Okay, let's have a look at the next position. Again, black to move. Pause your video and find the best move for black. Okay, the key motive in this position is that this queen is kind of running out of squares. And first move that comes to mind is attacking this queen. b5, and the queen has a little bit not so many moves. But white has the resource of taking out this pawn with the bishop. And this brings us to another candidate move. Maybe we can take out this bishop. After all, this has the double function of luring the king out into the center. And now we still have the resource of the bad queen, but we also, after giving the exchange, have generated the second resource. The king is in the middle, and if you look at it, maybe we can now mate this king. Okay, if we play b5 now, white still has one square for the queen, which is queen to c2. And now the king is in the center. What can we do? Maybe rook d8 check. Problem is the king escapes to the safe square of e2. And this brings us to the idea of maybe taking this square away from the king. And the only move that does that is bishop to c4. Now the king cannot retreat. If queen takes, we can win the queen, of course. And so if knight takes, we have the beautiful idea of queen e4 check. And now if the king moves, we win the queen. Combining both of these motifs, some mate threats and the king in the center, with the motive of the queen having not so many squares. Okay, let's have a look at the next position here. In this position, it's white to move. Okay, first idea that comes to mind is queen e7 checkmate. But of course, black has the resource of taking the queen out. And in this position, black is winning with the rook up. So the first idea that comes to mind is, can we somehow deflect this queen? And the candidate move that comes to mind is bishop to c6. Threatening mate, and if now black takes the bishop out with the queen is deflected and we can give mate here. The question is, does black have any better resource? Let's have a look at some moves that might be possible. Bishop to c6 eliminates the mating threat of bishop takes d7, but now white has the resource rook to d8 check and this mating motive here. So we are not mating on e7 but on d8. Okay, so bishop takes c6 does not work. What about rook g8? So that after bishop takes we have a square to escape for the king. This is certainly an idea. Black is still losing. But maybe in this position we have even something simpler. Okay, white has rook takes d7, introducing yet another mating threat. Queen takes f7, and also the mating threat of moving the rook away. So if black tries to counter the one mating threat, we can give mate here. There are just too many mating threats. If rook takes, we can mate here. So after rook d7, black is losing. Okay, let's have a look at position number 7. In this position, white to move. Pause your video to try to find the best move for white. Okay, similar to the video before, the first idea that comes to mind is queen to c7 checkmate. But again, the black queen controls this square, and this does not work yet. Okay, so what ideas do we have to deflect the queen? Again, similar to the prior position, what comes to mind is bishop to a6, so that after b takes a6, we have rook takes c6 and white is winning. So is white winning with this move? Black has the resource queen to b6, and this move is protecting both the b7 square and the c6 square, so that after bishop takes, black can take queen to b7. And at the same time, this queen controls also the c7 square. And in fact, in this position, after queen b6, white has not so many ways to continue here. So is this idea of deflecting the queen with bishop a6 worth nothing at all? Well, it helps us to identify another idea. After rook c6, after rook c6 check and b takes, now bishop a6 wins, because the only way black can get out of this is queen takes, and now the queen has given up control of the c7 square and white mates. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned a lot in these positions. Thanks a lot.